So there's one more thing to touch on with respect to actually handling changes in our file. And that is Git offers a number of tools to go back to older versions of files. So there's two cases here. One, let's say we've staged a file and don't actually want to commit it. So, we've got edits to US states. So let's go ahead and add those changes. And I apparently failed to type git properly. There we go. So it'll show us that we've staged usstates.txt. But let's say that we decided we didn't actually want to stage this yet. You can use, it tells you right here, git reset head and then the file name. If we do this, git reset head usstates.txt, it'll tell us that there were unstaged changes after reset, meaning Alaska is still in there. It doesn't delete that, it just no longer has it staged. And if we do git diff, it still shows up. So that's fairly simple. That's useful, if you stage a file and realize you wanted to do more work to it. You don't necessarily have to unstage it. For instance, if I added this and then made some more changes, so maybe also added, say, Utah, and ran git status again, it shows us that it's both staged and modified, and git diff shows us only Utah. It's a little weird because you don't normally have files just hanging out having been staged, but git diff will go from staged files too. If you're ever in a situation like this, you just need to add the file again. And now both changes are included in this single stage. But I'm not actually ready to commit this yet, so let's unstage those. So that's very simple. You've staged a file, and then you decide not just that you need to make one more quick change, because as I showed you here, if you do that, you can just go ahead and stage it again to add those changes. But you stage it and you realize, oh, well, no, actually, there's a good bit more development to do on this, so I'm going to unstage that because I don't think I'm going to be done soon. The other option is to actually completely discard changes since the last commit. And Git actually tells us exactly how to do that. Use git checkout -- file to discard changes in the working directory. So remember, right now, the addition of Alaska and Utah are in the working directory. If we come to the point where we decide that these changes really aren't beneficial at all, for whatever reason, we can use git checkout usstates.txt, and when we hit enter, notice first that git status shows no changes, as does git diff. And if we actually look at US states, both Alaska and Utah are gone. So this is a nice utility if, say, you've gone through and you've edited the code a bunch and you've made a bunch of changes and you run it and it just breaks everything. It's not working how it used to. It didn't fix the problem you wanted. It actually added more problems. You can just get rid of all those changes and pretend they never existed. But be aware that this is one of the things in Git that you cannot undo. There are a lot of things you can undo. This is not one of them. So be sure that you really don't want those changes. If you have any doubts, if you think, oh, I might want to at least reference what I did, there are other ways to handle it. but those usually involve branching in some form, so we'll talk about that in lesson 2.